Hi everybody, welcome to my video. It has been a really long time since I've done a really good video, so I figured it was time. In this video, I'm going to combine three different lessons. The first of which is how to use Kiwi Lane. And I am a Kiwi Lane instructor. I have a Kiwi Lane website. And if you want to go to that website and check out what Kiwi Lane is all about, you're welcome to. It is create.kiwilane.com/Sandy's Scrapbooks, and Sandy's is with 2 E's and an S. I will put that link for you down in the description box. But basically, this is what Kiwi Lane is. That's the first thing I'm going to talk to you about. The second thing I'm going to talk to you about is how to cut your 12 by 12 paper to make photo mats and to get the maximum amount out of your 12 by 12 papers. The third thing that I'm going to talk to you about is going to be how to use pattern papers. I have condensed a system down into a really great way of how to combine and use your papers, and you'll see how I do that here in just a minute. And I'm not going to go like in order on how to do that. I'm going to kind of mix and match everything. Okay, so here it goes. It might be a little bit of a long video because I am going to take you through the step-by-step process, so bear with me. It is a scrapbook layout from pretty much start to finish. The only thing that I'm going to skip over is the cutting, because that's time and tedious, and everybody knows how to use a pair of scissors at this point. So let's get started. The papers I'm going to use is from Photoplay. This is an older set. I don't know if it's still available at this point, so if you want it, you can search it. It's called All About a Little Girl. But the set itself is very, very cute. It has a wonderful selection of papers that I thought were just absolutely adorable. And I'm going to be using quite a few of the sheets. Mostly the ones that I will use is the stripes, the polka dots, the generic patterns, and then the bold pattern. And then I also use the cut up sheet. This is a really cute one too, but I do like the polka dots on the back a little bit better. And then of course there's a sticker sheet. So for what I would like to do today, I'm going to be mixing and matching these different pattern papers. And I'll take out the cutout sheets because that'll kind of confuse you a little bit. When you're mixing pattern papers, a lot of people don't know where to start. A lot of people don't know how to do it. And I have a basic system. My basic system is that there's relatively 3 types of pattern papers. The first type of pattern paper is the type that is going to be in your face. It's a very obnoxious pattern sometimes. It's like big florals or big prints, but there's no real rhyme or reason to the pattern. And I lovingly refer to this as the barf on my page. I know that sounds kind of gross, but sometimes with florals, you know what I mean. So in this case, this is the page that I'm going to be using. This is pretty much my bloop page that has all of the pattern just all over and no real rhyme or reason. Okay, so this is one that I'm going to use. The other type of pattern, this would also be considered kind of a barf on the page, but the other kind of pattern that I want to talk about is your circle pattern. Your circle pattern is going to be anything that has dots, anything that has waves to it. Like this one here, I would also consider it a circle type of pattern because it's kind of wavy and it's ruffly, so I would consider that a circular pattern as well. But anything that has that rounded look to it, that rounded feel, it can be symmetrical or it can be asymmetrical. It's entirely how the design goes, but anything with the rounded edges. Now you're going to be like, oh, well, that's a repetitive pattern too. Well, yes it is, but the repetitive pattern that I like to refer to like this as a geometric pattern. And a geometric pattern is anything that repeats itself in a mathematical way, anything that is very linear, and anything that is very repetitive in its pattern. So anything with stripes, anything with chevrons, gingham, plaids, houndstooth, all those types of things I consider geometric patterns. One of the most popular ones that I always use is stripes. And when we're using stripes in Kiwi Lane, we don't want to use the stripes this way. We want to use the stripes this way. So when we cut our strip, we want to cut this way so that we actually see all of these lines in our pattern. And I'll show you how I did that. But this is another one that I'm going to actually use in my layout. This pattern here, again, this is a circular pattern because there's really no rhyme or reason to it, and all of these flowers are really rounded. They have nice rounded look to them, and it's a very fluid type of pattern. So I would consider this in the rounded category, and this is one that I'm going to use as well. There is a third type of pattern, and not third type, excuse me, there's a fourth type, and some pattern sets have it and some don't. And I'm going to go back to this one for a minute because I want to explain what that other pattern is. This is what I call a monochromatic pattern. And the monochromatic pattern is anything that is using that same color tone but going into different layers of it. So it's all pink, but it's a lighter shade of pink, a darker shade of pink, and so on and so forth. Okay? Normally these monochromatic types of patterns usually only have 2, maybe 3 tones to it. But for all intents and purposes, this is just a great way of showing you how that monochromatic kind of looks because it's tone on tone. It's like a pink on pink. Okay, and I would normally use like one section of this, and then that would be my monotone type of pattern. Okay, so the rule of thumb when you're combining, when you're combining pattern papers, the rule of thumb is you want to get at least one of each of the types of patterns into your layout. So you want to get 1 barf on a page, you want to get 1 geometric, and you want to get at least 1 circular. Okay, that's my rule of thumb. Anytime you take these 3 patterns, you can combine them in so many different ways. It'll make your head spin, and it's going to look beautiful every time. You can, however, throw in a duplicate of a pattern. Just keep in mind when you do that, you want to make sure that you don't put those 2 same patterns on top of each other. You want to separate them with something else. And 90% of the time when I do that, it's 2 rounded patterns, and I will separate it with a plaid. So you'll have your round pattern, or not a plaid, excuse me, my geometric. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my own train of thought. My geometric, and then another round pattern. And in this case, the way I'm going to layer this specific look is going to be just like that. I'm going to have this rounded pattern, then I'm going to have my geometric, I'm going to have my other rounded pattern, and then I'm going to have my splattered barf on a page pattern. That's how I'm going to combine it. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to show you how the look evolves from starting with 1 print, then adding that 2nd print, then adding that 3rd print, and then adding that 4th print. I'm going to show you how the page progresses so it can go from simple to really elegant really easily. Again, for the intents and purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a lot of my cutting and everything else. I've already pre-done a little bit of it to kind of save time. So, the only thing that I'm going to explain to you, if you've never used Kiwi Lane before, these are the Kiwi Lane templates. And the first thing I'm going to show you, move this for a second, is the sets. This is a set that I'm going to use. It's called Aspen Court. And Aspen Court comes with 3 sets of templates, 6 pieces in all. There's a 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and a 3A, 3B. For this layout, I'm going to use the 1A, 1B, and the 2A, 2B. Another set of templates that I like to use that I throw in all the time is my set of scallops. This has a smaller scallop, this is the medium scallop, and then it has a much larger scallop. This set I use very, very often. It is one of my favorite sets that I tend to go to. Another set that I'll be using that you'll see is an accessory set that we have, and this is Sweetheart, and I'm going to be using the bracket and the heart from Sweetheart. And then I didn't know whether or not I wanted to use the accompanying tiny set or not, so I just pulled out the tiny Sweetheart as well. You'll notice with the accessory sets, and this is just a little note to self, they do look exactly the same, but they will not layer perfectly. They are not absolutely geometrically identical to each other and shrunken down in size. They are completely different in the sense of they're hand drawn and they have slightly different looks to it. They're not perfectly matched within each other, if you'll see what I mean there too. Okay, so don't think that just because there's a tiny and just because there's a regular accessory set that they're going to be just smaller versions of each other. They are slightly different. Another accessory set that I'm going to use is the Hope set, and I'm going to use the little rattle from the Hope set. Okay, so these are the Kiwi Lane templates. You use them, you draw your lines, and then you cut it apart. It's that simple, that basic. Best thing in the world about these templates, and you can see it as I'm showing you on this cutting mat, is they are translucent. So whenever you have a pattern, you can actually see what you want to cut or where you want to cut out of your pattern paper. So if there's a specific design that you want, like this little elephant gal right here, I don't want to cut her off. I don't want to cut her in half. If I were to do my template here, it would cut her in half, and I really don't want to do that. So I'm going to move my template to where I can see that she is within my template's cut, and then this is where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace. And then this one here is the second piece from that, and how I have this amount of space here, I'm going to go ahead and give myself that same amount of space over here so that my templates are roughly the same size. I'm going to draw this straight line here, and I'm going to cut straight across. When I make this cut right here, it's going to give me this block. I've traced this line, and when I cut down the middle of this line, I'm going to get these two pieces. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Here's those two pieces. I've traced, I've cut it, it's created two pieces, just like this. And then I've gone ahead and I've inked those edges. All right. Now, for all intents and purposes, I like to use solids as my backgrounds. You can use pattern papers. The two patterns that I recommend for your backgrounds are the muted monotone papers or the throw up. Because if you use the mark on the page, they're really good because you can hide them really easily. Okay, so with Kiwi Lane, you get the two templates, you get the two border pieces, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one to one side, and I'm going to take one to the other side. And that's as simple as it is. If that's all that I was doing, and I wasn't going to go any further with this page except for just having that as my accent and then doing my photo mats, I could absolutely leave those alone, and this is a beautiful page in and itself. But I want to make it pop. I want to add a little bit more. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to take that second border from the Aspen set, and I'm going to cut this out of my polka dot pattern, and I'm going to lay it over the top of this one and over the top of this one and scooch them in. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to move this one in like this. I'm going to move this one in like this. I have cut and traced my two pieces here. And I'm going to do this one. Well, see now how I'm kind of cutting off that giraffe over here? I don't like that. I want to keep that giraffe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this around and see if I can't save him somehow. Nope. Not really. A little bit, but not very much. So, yeah, giraffe doesn't really matter. So giraffe's going to go ahead and hide, and I'll keep my hippo and my elephant over there. I'll keep my giraffe over here on this side. So let's do that. This one's going to be this part here, and I'm going to bring it right across. Okay, good. Yeah, see, that keeps my giraffe right over there. So now I have my giraffe. I even have my little mouse, my rabbit, my pig, which is really cool because now that gives me one of all the animals. And I'm really happy with that. Notice how I've left a little bit of space over here. That's because if you want to go ahead and leave that as part of your border, you can absolutely do that. I'm going to take it another step further. And I'm going to use scallops. And I'm going to put this towards the edge of my page. for my scallops. Okay. And again, if you want to bring that out a little bit and adjust it, you can bring it out and adjust it as much as you like. This is the designing phase. Okay. One of the nice things about Kiwi Lane is it gives you the opportunity to change and blend out and do all the different things that you want to do. Now, I haven't cut this one yet, and there's a reason why I didn't cut this one. I want to show everybody the trick on scallops. I like my scallops to have a really crisp point on the inside here. But if you were to do your scissors like this, you'd have to turn your scissors back on themselves in order to get going on this cut again. And what that's going to do is that's going to tear and rip this edge. I don't want that to happen. I want my cuts to be very nice and clean into that center. And a lot of people wonder how I do that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to cut this first scallop. And I'm going to take my point of my scissors and I'm going to stop right at that point. Now this is where it gets a little bit confusing because it's very awkward when you first start doing it. But as you do it more and more, it gets easier. I'm left-handed, so I'm cutting in this way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist my paper. Okay, did you see that? I twisted my paper 90 degrees. And now I'm going to come in from this opposite angle. It's a little bit backwards, but I'm going to cut along that edge and I'm going to meet that point. That's it. That's all I do. And then I'm going to come back, grab that edge, and continue that circle of that scallop to the next point. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that same thing. Come in, get to my point, come back, pick it up, get to the point, turn it around, get to the point, and so on. Okay, this is how I do my scallops. And it gives me this nice, beautiful point every single time. And I love it. Because I am like a very pointy person. I like these points. Okay, another thing that people are always asking me about is how I get ink in between these little grooves. And again, I'm going to show you on this piece right here. I get my dauber and ink it up just a little bit. And again, this is Kiwi Lane. You don't have to worry about these pencil marks because you're going to cover it with this ink. This ink is fabulous stuff. I love Tim Holtz. Okay, so I've just inked down into that corner and then I'm coming back over like this and inking all the way back to that corner again. Now, a lot of people are going to go like this and they're going to get into that and they're going to get a little blob right there. Some people like that, some people don't. It's entirely up to you. The way you want to avoid that, but you want to get into the corners, you come from behind. Okay, and you push your paper and you come from behind, and that will get you into that edge. Push your paper and come from behind, and that'll get you into that edge. And then you can continue on doing your thing. With the scallops, it's not that much of a deal because the point really does give you a big enough or a wide enough angle to go ahead and get that dauber in there and get that crisp little point look to it. But there are some other of the templates, like in the florals and whatnot, that have a really, really deep wedge. And that's when you really want to come back up from behind and get into that. And that'll get those wonderful little crevices for you, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so that's that. And then this one's going to come back over here and join up to here. Now again, like I said, this is all dry layouts. I have not glued anything down, and there's a reason why I haven't glued anything down. And the reason is because this way I can still go in and I can adjust how much or how little of each template that I want to see, how far out I want to bring it, or anything else. I can still do all of that adjustment. And then the nice thing about it is when I'm laying one template over the other, I can go ahead and I can shrink it if I want it smaller, or I can expand it if I want it bigger. If I don't want to see as much green, I can put the green behind the polka dot and I can see less green, or I can see more green. It's entirely up to me any way that I want to do it. Okay? Now, remember what I said about the round patterns not wanting to be on top of each other? The reason why is they kind of get lost within each other. So what you want to do is you want to take that stripe, and here it is, I've cut it along against where the stripe is going, and that's where you bring that stripe in to break up that pattern. Isn't that amazing what a big difference that makes? just that little tiny 1/2 of an inch strip has now come in and completely separated those two layers and changed that whole look of those layers. So that's what I mean about this geometric. The geometric, in my opinion, is one of the strongest and boldest of the papers, and that's why I use it for a lot of the breaks between the two different patterns, because it completely breaks apart the two patterns so beautifully that 90% of the time when I have to break up two patterns with something, I will use a geometric, because I think geometrics anywhere else on the page are almost too bold. But that's my personal opinion. I'm not perfect. That's just how I like to roll. A lot of other people like those angular looks and everything else. I tend not to. I want it more soft and smooth. I tend to go for the rounds and the circles much more than I do any other pattern. Okay, so this is my layout. That's as simple as it was. I put 3 templates down, I mixed and matched them and put them in different orders, and you know, there is nothing wrong if you want to go back in and you say, you know, I don't really like that. I want to see more of this paper. So what you can do is you can switch this pattern up, put those polka dots behind your main barf pattern, and I know I'm going to keep referring it to that, and you're like, will you stop saying barf? No. So here, see, and then I'm going to break it again with that geometric. So it's all in the type of look that you want to do. You can do it this way, you can do it this way. Up to you. I personally like the other way because it's my layout and I get to do it that way. So I'm going to do it like this, and then I'm going to do it like that, and then I'm going to come over here on top and I'm going to put this geometric down there. Now, once you get everything else down and you get it all glued down and everything, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to accent your page with different types of accents and different types of features. And here are those accents and features. I have gone ahead and cut the heart. I've cut the little bracket from Sweetheart, and then I went ahead and cut the baby rattle from Hope. Now, these types of pieces you can add anywhere you like. You can put them in this way and then add them however you want, wherever you want, whatever kind of look you're going to go for, or whatever else. They are there for you to accentuate your page whichever way that you want it. Okay? So, that's all done. Now, I want to put photos on this page. I have tons of choices. I've already gone ahead and done some colors. And I think, for all intents and purposes, and much as I hate to admit it, I'm going to go with the pink and the yellow. And I really hate to do that because I love blue. Oh, you're making me cry. Okay, so I'm going to go with pink and yellow. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to make yellow my background mat and pink my foreground mat. And what I'm going to do, and this is going to be backwards to how everybody does photo mats. And I understand that, but this is my way. And my way is not the highway, but in this instance, it kind of is. What I do is I take a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock, and I cut that 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock down into 6 photo mats of 4 by 6. Now, I say that first, but the reason why I have it oriented like this is so I can go ahead and not only I can get 6 4 by 6 photo mats, or I can change it up and I can get a different variation of 4 by 6 photo mats. I can get a 5 by 7 out of this, believe it or not, and still get 4 4 by 6s. I can get 4 4 by 6s, and then I can get 4 3 by 3s, or I can get 3 4 by 4s, or I can get 4 3 by 4s. And I'll show you how I do that. If you cut a 12-inch piece of paper directly in half at 6 inches, and then you cut each of those halves at 4 inches and 8 inches, that will give you this exact configuration of 6 4 by 6 photos. However, if you cut the 4 inches first, So you're cutting this block off and then cut that in half. That gives you 2 4x4s. Then you're left with this whole entire block. If you cut this block in half at the 6 inches, that will give you this sheet right here, and that will give you 2 4x6s. And then you're left with this 4x8 piece. This 6x8 piece. This 6x8 piece can be dropped down to a 5x7. Okay, so that's where you get your 5x7 and 4 4x6s. If you cut this 4-inch mark and this 8-inch mark, that leaves you 3 strips of 4-inch by 12. You can cut these 2 in half and get 4 4x6s, and then you're left with this 12-inch strip. And then you can cut it in thirds at 4 inches and 8 inches, 4 inches here and 8 inches here, and that gives you 1, 2, 3 4x4s. Or you can cut it at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches, so 3, 6, and 9, and then cut an additional inch off the top here, and that will give you 1, 2, 3, 4 3x3s. Or if you go ahead and cut this as the 4x6, and then take each 4x6 piece and cut it in half, you get a 3x4, 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 3x4. So basically you get 4 4x6s and 4 wallets. That's how I start. This one sheet of paper is going to start me off for all of my photo mats. And then all I do, once I've done that, and I'll show you what I mean. Give me 2 seconds. I'll cut this one up. There's 2. There's 4. And for this purpose, I'm going to do 1 4x6 in half and get 2 3x4s. So here's all the photos that I want to go ahead and put down on my layout. Could glue this down, but I'm too lazy. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say, let's put one right here, let's put one right here, let's put one here, and let's put one up here. Okay, I'm gonna tuck it behind that little well there, like that. Come on. And like that. Alright, so there's my whole layout and everything else, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this heart here, and then let's put the baby rattle right there. Alright, and then I'm going to take these 2 3x4s, and then I'm going to put them up here. Now, I've pretty much covered all the pattern paper. Sometimes that's what's going to happen, and sometimes it's not. It's entirely up to you. But what I want to do is I want to take this saying right here, and I want to put it onto this photo mat. But you notice this is a 3x4. So what I do now is, for anything that I'm layering in, and if I want to do a double photo mat, I'm going to make these 1/4 of an inch smaller on one side, 2 sides. Okay? So I'll show you what I mean. The first cut that I'm going to do is going to be 3 3/4. So you'll see it's 1/4 of an inch smaller. And then the next cut that I'm going to do is at 5 3/4. But I'm going to have to cut that one twice at 5 3/4 because it's not an exact cut. And then that's going to give me my 2 smaller photo mats. And because I cut 1/4 of an inch off, it's going to give me a 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Okay? And then for the heart, I'm going to cut 1/8 of an inch around the whole entire seam of that piece so that I can get my 1/4 of an inch even. Okay, so there's that saying. And then now that photo mat's in that 1/8 of an inch. I think I'm actually going to get rid of this one because I just want to do the one. And I'll add a sticker onto that. Because I'm putting pattern paper onto solid, I'm going to go ahead and ink that edge. Because I want to have that shadow. When we're inking edges, we're accomplishing a couple of different things. The first thing that we're accomplishing is we are hiding cut marks. We are hiding pencil marks. The second thing that we're accomplishing is we are creating the fake out, basically. You're faking your eyes out, that there is depth and shadow and dimension here when there's not. It's absolutely flat. The third thing that we're doing is, when it comes to pattern papers on top of pattern papers, is you're creating a break of a solid line between those two patterns so the patterns do not bleed into each other and your eyes don't go wonky trying to look at it. Okay, so there's my layout. That is my Kiwi Lane layout. All I've done, oops, I gotta do one more set of photo mats. 3 3/4, 5 3/4, and 5 3/4. Ta-da! And there's my mat. There we go. All right, much better. Get her done. All right, there it is. All right, so there's my whole entire layout. Now, remember what I said about stickers? Where did I hide my sticker sheet? Where did I have the sticker sheet? It is hiding from me. La, 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 la. Ah, there it is. Stickers! Okay. So now with the sticker sheet, I can go ahead and I can add stuff all over here. I can put the banner over here. I like that look. I actually probably will do that, to be honest with you. And then like this little elephant girl, I really like that. So I'm gonna put that elephant right here because I really don't have a lot of my animals over here. I kind of covered my giraffe again. So I think too, I'm gonna go ahead and bring my giraffe back in. So I'm gonna take that giraffe. I'm gonna go ahead and put her back in there. You know, and I might use one of the sayings or something maybe over one of the pictures. Maybe something down here because it's a little bit bland. But you can see where I've gone with this. I've taken just cardstock and I've made this beautiful layout with just this cardstock and pattern paper and Kiwi Lane. I hope you really enjoyed this. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this down now and finish up my layout and get some pictures on there and put it in my album. Thanks for watching.